Welcome to Gentle Restorative. My name is Sandra, and we're going to start with the eyes closed and a focus on our fabulous breath. And just noticing if the breath has an even flow to it. Does it feel like it's getting stuck in places? And if it's getting stuck, let's send some love and light to those areas. And then give me a deep inhale. Big exhale. Take the arms all the way up. And exhale the hands to the heart in prayer pose. And then we'll pause here to set our intentions. And when you're ready, just release the hands. Keep the eyes gently shut. Start to lengthen the breath. So Mark Twain said, or wrote, if the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that that is probably the worst thing that's going to happen to you all day long. He's probably, well, hopefully he's right. So he's often credited with that quote. But if you do a little bit of Google searching, you'll come up with a quote from the 1700s by Nicholas Chamfort, who wrote, "Swallow a toad in the morning if you want to encounter nothing more disgusting the rest of the day." So the message is the same. The meaning behind that is, when we have something that we have to do that we don't want to do, if we put it off as the day goes on, don't you get a little bit more stressed out about it? You're thinking more about it, but you still don't want to do it. And so you're creating some suffering there. But if you were to tackle it first thing in the morning, then the rest of the day feels open and carefree, right? Because you got the worst of it out of the way. So since I do not know at what time of day you're watching this on YouTube, I want you to think about, if it's the morning, I want you to think about your day ahead. And if it's evening, I want you to think about tomorrow. What is the biggest thing on your to-do list in the next 24 hours that you really don't want to do? Let's bring it to mind. I want you to think about what would go into that task, that job. What are the steps you would have to take? Go ahead. You can even feel like the angst associated with it just for a moment. But then I want you to imagine that that task is completely done. And I want you to notice how you feel. It is done. You can see it completed. You might see yourself smiling. It's a relief, right? So go ahead and take the arms up again. Bring the palms together, release them to the heart, and let's add on to our intention that in the next 24 hours, we are going to take on the biggest task first. Go ahead. And then release your hands. And isn't it true? Hang on, I'm going to have you sit up first and come into a fold. Isn't it true that for some of you, getting to your yoga mat might have been that big challenge? And so the beauty of that is by the time we get to Shavasana, you know that the rest of your day has been made, right? Sometimes it's a struggle getting to the mat or, well, to do any type of exercise, right? So that might be the frog that you take on first. Okay, walk your hands back up. I want you to grab ideally a block, but any of your props would work. If you don't have any props, look around. Have a stack of old VHS tapes. That would do it. Anything. So I am going to grab a block. Okay, I need you to listen to your knees. If your knees are fine, take the right leg and bring it backwards behind you. The top of the foot is down on the mat. And that's important. If your knee doesn't like this, let's keep that leg going across in front. All right? Okay. So now what we're going to do is pick up the left foot and bring it up into the groin crease on the right side, so towards the right hip. And then, because in restorative poses, we don't like body parts just hanging in space, I don't really like where the left knee ends up. And that is where your prop is going to go. So right underneath that knee, that should make you feel stable, hopefully a little more secure. Okay. Now that I've got you twisted up, I'm thinking we might want our strap too. So this would be a good time to grab it. You might have to untangle yourself to grab your strap. Sorry, I should have thought ahead. But I'm taking you kind of into a little, well, a twist and a bind. And you know, those binds can be funny sometimes. Sometimes our limbs aren't as long as we think they are or should be. So a strap is always helpful. So I'm going to take about the middle of my strap. Go ahead and hook the left foot in that strap. And then I'm just going to feed this around behind me. Doesn't really matter where it ends up. You'll find it. Okay? You might not even need the strap. We'll find out. All right. Right hand goes to the left knee. Left hand somewhere behind you. We're going to sit up tall. And then as you exhale, let's take that gentle twist to the left. And then I want you to back out and take the twist again. So just warming up a little bit. And then when you're ready and you get to an exhale, just go ahead and release the twist. You can leave your right hand where it is, but that way you can kind of see where we're headed. So this is what it's going to look like. We're going to sit up tall. We're going to take the twist. The left hand is coming around behind my back. Now, if that's as far as the hand goes, grab your strap. What we're looking to see is in that twist, can we grab on to the left foot? We might not be able to do that. So we have our strap, and if we don't have a strap, we can just have that arm hanging out in limbo, or you can just grab on to the back of your shirt. Okay, so let's sit up tall. Take that twist to the left. In fact, we'll even make this option A in case you don't want to go any farther. Option B, left arm behind the back. Option C, grab the strap or wiggle your way closer to see if you can grab onto the top of the foot. And then make sure you're breathing, right? We're not holding the breath here. You might be kind of like metaphorically holding your breath, waiting for this pose to end, but you know, some of the poses in this sequence just have to be frogs, right? And we have to do them, and we have to get them out of the way. So with that in thought and in mind, embrace the pose. Give me a deep inhale. Exhale, slowly release. You might want to take the twist to the other direction just to kind of feel like the spine is recalibrating. How about that? And then come back to center. I'm going to go ahead and move this block. I'm going to release the strap. And then, let's get those legs in front and hug them in. All right, ready for the other side? Perhaps. Left leg comes back alongside you unless the knee doesn't like that. And then remember, we took the opposite foot, so the right foot is coming up towards the left hip. You're going to slide a prop underneath that right knee. And then you're going to take your strap and you're going to put it around the top of the right foot and bring the strap around behind you. We're having fun, right? Okay, left hand to the right knee, right hand behind you. Inhale, sit up. Exhale, take the twist. Inhale, back off a bit. Exhale, twist. So just warming up. You know, what's kind of funny about this theme is I've never heard this quote until I was out driving the other day and I saw a new place called something like Eat Your Frog Fitness. And I'm like, who would think of that name for a fitness place? But then I Googled it and, of course, read what it meant. And I thought, well, no, that's a great theme. It's a pretty good quote as well. All right, stay in that twist. Option A, right here. Option B, right arm behind the back. Option C, grab the strap or the top of the foot. And deep breath in. Exhale. Release the twist. Take a subtle twist to the other side. And then come back to center. We're going to free the legs. Hug the knees back in. And we're going to play around with some variations of frog. Ideally, in keeping with the theme, I'd throw them all at you up front, especially because I don't like frog pose, but I kind of want to work them in between our restorative poses. So bear with me. What we're going to do first is take that strap, bring it around behind you. If you don't have a strap, you're still going to be able to do this pose. And then let's make a loop. Okay, I'm going to keep that loop pretty big for right now. What I would like on my left side is something. I don't care if it's the bolster, your blanket, your block. You might not even need anything there, but I want something there just in case. In fact, let's put something on both sides so we're already set up. So I'll have the blanket on one side and the bolster on my other. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and lay back. Watch where that buckle is on your strap. We want to be able to have control over tightening this. Now I'm going to draw my knees in and I'm going to tighten the strap around my legs. Give you a second to get there. Okay, so we're just coming into a twist to the left. That prop is there to catch your legs, if that makes this a happier place to be. Let's take the arms to scarecrow. If you feel like you do not want that prop on your left side, go ahead and move it. And then just close your eyes. You should feel like this is effortless because the strap is doing all the work to keep you in place. While we're hanging out here, let's talk a little bit about the symbolism of a frog. So generally, when a frog shows up in your world, which perhaps maybe this theme is your sign, it means that you are in a time of change. And so if you think about how a frog goes through changes from tadpole, etc., you're in a great time of change. But here's the thing. Frogs jump to get from one place to the other, right? They're not crawling and walking, they jump. In order for you to jump to the end result of that change, whatever your goal is or what you're trying to manifest, for you to make the jump, you need to lighten your load, right? And so what do we need to leave behind? Well, frogs live in water. Water represents cleansing and purification of sorts. And so to me, that symbolizes you're going to have to release stuff and let go of stuff. So baggage, we've got to leave baggage behind. We have to leave something behind so that we can very easily make the jump to the change we want. Okay, so I'm going to have you think about that on the other side. Go ahead and pull the knees back up. And you might find you can just simply continue all the way over to the right. You've placed a prop there. And arms in scarecrow. So while you're on this side, what I want you to think about is, well, first think about if you do have a change that you've been thinking about making. And then part B, think about what you need to let go of to make this easier. If you can't think of anything you're in the midst of changing or wanting to change, let's just generally think about what can you let go of today? And so I found you this quote by Zhuangzi, who said, "A frog in a well cannot conceive of an ocean." The frog that is in the well is going to have to jump out of it to be able to see an ocean, right? It doesn't even know it exists. But you do. And so you have the advantage of knowing what the end result could be. And I'm just trying to help you get there. I'm trying to help you instigate that by putting that at the forefront of your list. I know it's the hard one. I know it's the one we don't want to do. But eat that first frog. The rest of the day, it's cake and Oreos. All right. Give me a deep breath on this side. Let it go. Let's go ahead and bring the knees back up. You can loosen that strap and then just pull it towards you. We're going to sit up. And then you can go ahead and just take that strap off over your head, set it aside. Okay, when you're ready, come onto your knees. Move my props aside. And let's venture into our first variation of Mandukasana frog pose. Manduka frog asana pose. Mandukasana. All right, so we're sitting on the knees unless you can't stand this. If the knees are bothering you, you could put your blanket right behind them so that they're not as constricted. What you're going to do is take one hand, tuck your thumb in, make a fist. That hand is going on the navel. The other hand is going right on top. Now, before we dive forward into this variation of frog pose, what I want you to think about is your hands are going to be stuck here and your head is aiming towards the floor. So I don't want anybody's frog tipping over with the weight of the head reaching for the ground. So think about this. If you already know there's no way my head is going to rest on the ground, I want to prop out in front of you, okay? So you have one hand in the navel, other hand on top. We're going to lengthen and we're just kind of rolling over those hands to come on down. Your head will either find the prop you put there, or you're going to bring the forehead all the way down to the earth. And I think what you're going to find when you get there is this isn't necessarily the most enjoyable pose, with your fists shoving into your abdomen while you're rounded over them. But I would like you to think about the idea that not every pose is meant to be completely blissful. We have, life lessons in each of the poses. So let's just try to rest here, focus on the breath. You're picturing that ocean, right? So frog, not in this variation, but pretty much in every other variation we're going to do, is a hip opening pose. So I'm sure your hips are going to have quite a bit to say to you tomorrow. Hopefully happy things. Take a deep breath where you're at. And as you exhale, slowly make your way back up. All right, if that blanket is behind your knees, let's go ahead and set that aside. And then come on up into table. We're going to find our cat-cow. One more. And then go ahead and relax the spine, and then however it seems easiest to you, let's go ahead and just come on down onto our stomachs. Left arm is somewhere in front of you. Right hand is going to reach back for the right foot and draw it in. You should feel this in the front quad, the right one, which is going to help you for some of these frog variations. So go ahead and switch sides. Let's find our balance here. And then release that foot. Go ahead and plant the hands. We're going to come on up into Balasana, child's pose. So take the knees about the width of the mat, toes together, reach the arms forward, melt the heart down. And again, if you're not comfortable getting the head to the floor, or you're looking at the floor thinking it better freaking rise, grab a prop and put it underneath your head so the head isn't hanging in limbo. We're going to stretch the fingers out wide. The hands are pushing the mat away from you for a moment to see if you can get your hips further back, and then soften into place. Okay, lift the head. I'm just going to slide my elbows back a little bit so I can just comfortably perch here and make a little shift. I'm going to take my knees out wider. So give me like another inch maybe. So we're working our way into another variation of frog. I, again, would like you to have a prop out in front of you if the floor is too far away. Now let's go ahead and come back down as though we were headed to child's pose. So it's very similar. It's just you have your hips are open wider probably, than you normally would head to in Balasana. We are going to add in a couple other little changes and we'll see how that works for you. Remember, practice ahimsa. And this would be a good place or a good pose, if you want to practice yin yoga, then you would just want to find a comfortable way to settle into this pose and then not move. Just commit to not wiggling around, moving, just following the breath. All right, we're ready to add on another change. So I need you to slide your arms back in underneath you and see if the knees go any wider. This time, take them as far out as you can get them to go. All right. Now I want to tell you what the option is before I get you down on the mat, because again, I don't want you to not have the props nearby that you might need. So the option for this variation of Mandukasana is as you come down, you might be able to rest your chin on the floor or your prop, which probably does look more frog-like, right? So if you get here and you hate it, and your neck is not happy about it, then I'd rather you bring the forehead back down as though you were in Balasana. So you choose. And of course, you can have that prop out in front of you. If you need the bolster completely supporting your abdomen, why wouldn't we have already grabbed it, right? I mean, that feels pretty darn good. So you decide. It's your frog pose. All right, let's go ahead and make our way back up. I'm sure the hips are ready to find closure. Pull them in. And then let's find embryo here, shall we? Still a prop underneath your head if you need it. And then we should be ready to slowly push our way back up. Perfect. Let's bring the shoulders up to the ears, take them back and down. Roll out the neck gently. And then we're going to need the bolster. So it's coming horizontally across the middle of your mat. You could use your blanket too if you want. It could be a neck roll, or you could use it, once we get into the pose we're heading into, you could put this on top of your legs, which I think is what I'm going to do, but you do you. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to get my hips up on the bolster, but I'm on the left side of the bolster. So I have all this fabulous room off to my right. Now I'm going to slowly lay back. I'm going to bring my knees up. It's another variation of the twist we just did. I'm going to drop my knees to the right. And then this is where I've decided I'm going to use the blanket as a little extra weight on top of my left leg to keep my legs in place. And then if you want to, arms scarecrow, straight out from the shoulders. You could change that up too if you want. Close your eyes. Boy, how happy are the hips now to be closed. So following the breath. Let's deepen that breath. So in keeping with this idea of finding something that we need to let go of to make our journey a little bit easier, I found this anonymous quote that was kind of funny. It said something like, frogs are really lucky because they get to eat what bugs them. But you get to drop it. You get to release it. You just have to make that decision. Empty the lungs. Slow, deep inhale. Hold the breath. Big exhale. All right, so if you put the blanket on top of your legs as well, go ahead and set that aside for a moment. Slowly bring the knees back up. I'm going to set the feet down. And then I need to shift all the way over. You can shift yourself or you can slide the bolster underneath you so that you are on the right side of the bolster. Bring the knees back up. Drop them to the left. And then if you want that blanket on top again, go ahead and toss it up there. Close your eyes, go back to the breath. Empty out the lungs. Slowly fill them. Hold the breath. Huge exhale. All right. If that blanket's on top of you, set it aside. Slowly bring the knees back up. Set the feet back down. I'm going to lift my hips, slide my bolster center underneath me, and then just resettle on top, a very supported bridge for a moment. I think I'm going to choose to stretch out my legs because they've been bent a lot for frog pose. So if you want to stretch out too, go ahead. In fact, I'm going to take my arms overhead as well. Big stretch. All right, big inhale. Exhale, let go of that breath. Bring the arms back down. If you took them overhead as well, if you straightened your legs, let's replant the feet. Slowly lift the hips up to slide that bolster out. And come on back down. So just go ahead and take that to a fetal position, whichever way you want to tip over. And then when you're ready, go ahead and make your way back up for another fun variation of Mandukasana. I think you're going to want props for this one. I can't, I don't think I can, I could not fathom doing this one and practice ahimsa at the same time. Just for my body, it's not a happy place. So you might want some props as well. Any of them are going to work. I think I'm going to grab a block. Okay, so what the legs look like, and this is kind of the challenging part. Go ahead and come up onto your knees for a moment. You can get your hands forward for support. So my knees are going to go wide, not as wide as we took them before. The feet are angling in towards each other, but they're not touching. There's space between my feet. And guess what that space is for? Slowly walk your hands backwards. And if you comfortably can sit down on the earth, you can stay here. My knees do not like that. So this is where I'm saying a prop, oh my gosh, is going to be all the difference in the world, that one little change. So I would recommend sitting on something, but if you're happy there, I'm happy for you. Once you get here, go ahead and take the arms up. Now, what happens in this pose, the arms are going to bend and cross behind you. So the hands grab on, not really grab, but rest on the opposite shoulders. So what I want you to pay attention to, this is kind of like cow face. You know, when you get that arm behind you and it starts to push your head forward, I don't want you to let that happen. So I really want you to find your length, draw your stomach in a little bit. You can relax the arms a little so they're not pushing the head forward. Give me a deep breath here. Big exhale. And then just gently release the arms. We'll take this into traditional frog and be done with the pose. How about that? So you're going to get the prop out from underneath you. And then you can start in table. We're going to widen out the knees though. So go ahead and you could start with the edges of your mat and see how that works for you. So the difference here is we are not bringing the toes in towards each other. The ankles stay directly behind the knees, but we also have to flail out the feet. Toes go wide out to either side so that we look like a frog. And then start to widen out your knees. So as you widen the knees, you got to widen out the rest of the leg. You might already be as far as you intend on going, and that's great. So find where you can get to, and then slowly come on down onto the forearms. All right, so option A is to stay right here. Option B is going to be to take this lower. And so what you could do is stretch out the arms and bring the head down to the earth or to a prop, right? You'll notice in this pose with my head down like this, my head is lower than my heart. It's also lower than my hips, which might make you think of, yes, downward facing dog. Whoever said that is correct. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So Adho Mukha Mandukasana, downward facing frog. So I'm going to leave you there to enjoy it. I am not begging out, but I already taught frog pose earlier today, and you can catch that on the vinyasa topics if you want to do a vinyasa as well. My hips are all frogged out. That's about it. So you enjoy it for a moment. Follow the breath. What are you going to leave behind? You want to make that leap forward. All right, that's a lot of frog. Give me an inhale. Big exhale. And slowly start to make your way out of the pose. What you might want to do is, once you get into up onto the arms, get the feet towards each other. That'll make it much easier to just sit back, free the legs. Oh my gosh, the hips need to come back together, don't you feel? Okay, let's stretch out the legs and just rest right here. Dandasana, staff pose. Close your eyes. No more frog pose. See, we got the frog out of the way. Everything else is just the icing on the cake. Oh my gosh, I wish I had cake. Breathe. And then let's go ahead and add a soft bend of the knees, sit up tall, inhale the arms, exhale, go ahead, hinge forward into your fold. With all those twists that we did and the variation of frog with the hand at the navel, we should have fired up that solar plexus. So that would be digestion. Yeah, that chakra should be feeling some balance. All right, we're slowly going to come on back up. Let's go ahead and return to the earth on our backs. I'm going to stretch out the left leg, hug in the right knee. We're going to send that right leg up to the ceiling, interlace the fingers behind the thigh. If this is too much, bend the left leg. And then we're going to lift the head and shoulders. We're going to start taking the hands up a little higher, wherever that is for you. And let's see about getting the forehead and the knee just a little bit closer to each other. And let it go. Bring that leg all the way down to the ground. Close your eyes, just be. When you're ready, hug the left leg in. Send that leg up to the ceiling. Lift the head and shoulders, walk the hands up the leg, draw that leg in closer, and let it go. Let the hands drift down to rest on your abdomen. Eyes are closed. We're going to inhale to the count of 4. We're going to hold for 5 and exhale 7. So you should be able to set your own pace here. So go ahead and start when you're ready. Last one. And then the breath returns to something peaceful and calm. You can release the arms if you want to. Let's return the feet to the mat so the knees are bent. Take the feet to the edges of the mat and gently windshield wiper the legs back and forth. One more time each side. When the legs come back to center, we're going to hug them in and tip over to a side in a fetal position. From there, come on back up to a seated pose for a moment. You'll close your eyes. Draw the shoulders up, back and down. Gently roll out the neck. So remember that quote about the frog in a well cannot conceive of an ocean. And I said, but you can. You can also conceive of the most fabulous Shavasana for you. And so I brought you back up so that you could peruse your props and go ahead and set up that space on your mat right now. Make sure you're comfortable. Allow the body to grow heavy. Allow yourself to completely relax into Shavasana, let go of thoughts. Remember, if it was hard for you to get to your mat today, your frog is almost digested. So breathe a sigh of relief, smile, and just drift away into a beautiful space. And you'll hear my voice when it's time to come back. As you bring your focus back to your breath, I want to remind you that the homework assignment is to eat your frog first in the next 24 hours and then to be done with it. Give me a deep inhale. Let it go. Pause here for a moment to send love and light to your hips and your knees. They did a lot of work today. And then invite some movement back into the body. And if you want to stay on your back a little longer, you should stay there. Otherwise, go ahead and roll to your side. And then slowly rejoin me in a seated pose. Deep breath in through the nose. Loud exhale. Go ahead and inhale your arms all the way up. Bring the palms together and softly release them back home to your heart in Anjali Mudra. The light in me bows to the light in you. And when I'm in that place in me and you're in that place in you, then we become one. Namaste.